Welcome to another episode of the Lone Recruiter Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Clemenson. And if you're a recruiter out on your own or just lacking general advice or mentorship, you've come to the right place. Our episodes are designed to give you the motivation, the strategies, and the support you need to become the very best lone recruiter. To join us, grab a cup of coffee. Let's take your desk to another level. Now, today, silence is by far one of the best and most powerful negotiating strategies I've ever come across. And it's used commonly. I think you've probably heard it at some point. But what I want to go into today is how we use it, why we use it, what we hope to get out of it. Okay, and it's quite simple, right? It's no secret that us recruiters love to talk, and it's almost like we just talk too much. And it's ironic that I'm saying that because I'm on a podcast talking to you right now, but I've done a lot of sales training over the years, even more recently, and it's just a common thing, is that listening is where, if we can listen more, understand more, we're actually going to be able to provide our services better. And so I think it was something along the lines of a recruiter will speak 80% of the time in a meeting, which is just ridiculous. Like, we should not be speaking 80% of the time. We should be listening 80% of the time. We should be, advising maybe 10% of the time, and the other 10% of the time is tightening things up, maybe selling a bit about your service or whatever. So 80% of your time should be listening. If you can keep that in the back of your mind, that's a great start for this episode. But why is silence such an effective negotiating strategy? Well, think of it this way, right? You know, we're recruiters. We're negotiating salaries, terms, maybe timeframes on deals. We're negotiating conditions, just getting people to make decisions. Like, we're actually doing a lot of negotiations day in, day out. It's not just at the pointy end of things. It's not just with our terms. There's a lot of micro negotiations that go on. And sometimes to get your way, you just need to put out there what you want and be silent. And it is really awkward to implement when you first start doing it. I remember the first time I did it was actually before recruitment. And I remember buying a car, and I'd learnt this silent treatment. And I thought, I'm going to give it a go. So this guy called up, and I was selling a car. And he said, I want to buy a car. I want to do it for, 12 grand. And I said, no, it's 14. And I remember thinking, shut up, Brett. Shut up, Brett. Shut up, Brett. I think I was silent for about, it felt like a freaking eternity, but I think it was a good 20 to 30 seconds. And then after 30 seconds, no one said anything. So I just repeated the number, $14,000. Just be quiet. It was, I can tell you now, super, super awkward. But do you know what? After another 30 seconds of just sitting there in silence, he said, fine. And that was the beginning of me going, I got what I wanted just by shutting the hell up. And I think that's the main bit. When you realize and recognize that there is a lot of power in that silence, you get quite used to doing it, and you go, there's value in doing this. So if you've never used the silent treatment, we're going to start doing that today and this week. I want you to just start doing it at a small level with, interviewing candidates. When you're asking for salaries, or when you're asking them a bit of information, or you're trying to approach something that's a little bit tricky, just ask them the question and shut the hell up. And the logic, or the reasoning behind why this works, okay, is that no one likes silence. If you're putting a question out there, let's talk about rates. Someone's negotiating rates with you. Let's say you're firm 20% rates. You want to do 20% rates. You kind of know in the back of your head that the rest of the market might do a little bit lower, but you're confident in your services and what you're doing, whatever. So you're probably used to this thing. But let's just say we're negotiating rates. Let's say to the client, they say, what's your rate? And you say, our rate is 20%. Quiet. Silence. Let it linger. You're going to feel awkward. You just naturally, humans want conversations to ebb and flow. So it doesn't feel right when it doesn't ebb and flow. At such a young age, call and response, ebb and flow. That's what a conversation is. Negotiating is interrupting that brain pattern and creating an awkward gap. And so in that awkward gap of silence, and when you're in control of that silence, there's a lot of power in it. Someone will want to naturally jump in and fill that gap. No one likes silence. Okay? So the goal here is to get them to speak next. That's the goal. Because in them speaking next, they're going to waffle. They're going to ramble. They're going to talk around. If they don't like what you've put out there, if you say, I want 20%, and they are thinking, fuck, I have to get this to 15, and they're not trained in doing that, what are they going to say? Oh, they're going to start talking about this. The reason why there's gold in that is that you're letting them feel uncomfortable, and you need to be staying really calm and firm, but they're going to start revealing where they're at, their thinking. They're going to start revealing, what their position actually is. They're going to say, oh no, look, I have to go to 15, but look, I know we can probably go to 18 or whatever that might be. That awkwardness, that silence will bring out a reveal. It'll start to make the other party reveal a bit more because they don't want this awkwardness. Every now and then you get a trained negotiator who's going to come and meet your silence. Now, that's fucking awkward. I've been in a room where I've done this is what we do, silence, and you sit there. And you sit there for 45 seconds. And you kind of go, you're gonna answer that? They go, no, I'm just letting you rethink your position, which is a very, very powerful counter maneuver. But we're not talking about that today. My point is, if you're not using silence as tactics in negotiation, if you're not using silence, or if you catch yourself filling the void a lot of the time, stop doing it for a moment. Just think to yourself, hang on a minute. Like they've asked me a question and they've gone silent on me. Why am I feeling like I have to answer and fill this void? Being conscious around the silence is a really, really powerful tool and really, really powerful sort of self-understanding around what's going on in the room and what's happening in this situation. Because you're probably, on the flip side, revealing a lot about your position, revealing a lot about your candidates, revealing a lot about the where we're at when we're negotiating, when you don't need to be. So being super aware of silence, how to use it, how to deflect it, really, really useful. And if you're going to get anything out of today, start applying it. So if you've got a fee negotiation this week, I want you to literally say, when a client says, well, what are your rates? You say, our nominal rate is 20%. And shut up. Let them get awkward. Let them lean into it. Or if you want to go simpler, when you're interviewing a candidate today, I want you to ask them about salary, and I want you to shush. What is your current salary? Quiet. Because a lot of the time people try to avoid it, don't they? What's your current salary? Oh, and then you start talking. Oh, actually, what's your base? What's your super? Just go quiet. Just let them talk. Let them talk. Anyway, that's all I have time for you today. If you've got anything out of today's episode, please like, share, subscribe. It really helps us grow. As always, have an amazing day, and may all your deals come true.